I've seen that since university.
Fun, insightful interviews from a wide spectrum McKnight Tonight. McKnight Tonight. Here comes McKnight Tonight.
Welcome to McKnight Tonight. Now, here's Rob McKnight.
Runaway pen. Hello, good evening and welcome to McKnight Tonight. It is Monday, the 13th of October, 2025. Isn't it getting hot? Or is it just me? Maybe I've got the flushes, Amanda. I tell you what, though, it's certainly been a big day in international politics with Israeli hostages released by Hamas as part of a peace deal brokered by none other than President Donald Trump. In exchange for the hostages, Israel will release 250 Palestinian prisoners and more than 1,700 detainees. This is amazing. What has been able to happen? There's going to be a lot of developments over the next few hours, let alone a few days. Obviously, we will keep across it here on McKnight Tonight with any breaking developments, and I'll keep across it over the next few days. Now, if you're watching this via Facebook, LinkedIn, X, the best place to watch it and join the McKnight Tonight community is at YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/@McKnightTonight. Our community, honestly, they're there an hour before we start streaming, and they're all talking to each other, and it really has become a great community. But I know there's lots of you who are watchers and don't take part in the conversation, which is fine. But have a go tonight. Maybe leave a comment. Let us know you're out there so that we can say g'day and show you how we appreciate your support. And if you do want to help support the podcast a little bit more, I say podcast, videocast, YouTube cast, the McKnight Tonight Empire. What do you think, Amanda? Is it an empire?
More like a preschool, I think.
Yes, if only we could get the subsidies childcare gets. You can go and do that by buying me a coffee. buymeacoffee.com/McKnight Tonight. Every little bit helps. But over at YouTube, they've got this new function that I'm investigating where they can take a normal live stream and then make it a members only live stream. So I'm going to play with that later in the week. So if you want to see the extra content that I'm going to do, and today I did a live stream for my members and just put it out there in the afternoon. So hopefully you saw that if you're a member, or you can go back and watch it. But if you want to see the live stream extra bonus that I'm going to do this week, make sure you're a member at youtube.com/@McKnight Tonight. That's youtube.com/@McKnight Tonight. Every little bit there, every stream, every subscriber helps us to build the preschool, as Amanda puts it, or the empire, as I put it. All right. Coming up in this edition of McKnight Tonight, the fallout from Senator Lidia Thorpe's explosive comment that she'd burned down Parliament House. We'll look at what she really meant and how both sides of politics are responding. Then, new figures from New South Wales' latest pill testing trial. It sparked fresh debate as Queensland takes a zero-tolerance approach. We'll separate the facts from the fear-mongering. Plus, I've got a Rob's rant on the absurdity of the Sex Discrimination Commissioner not being able to accept a biological fact. Then later... Neil Diamond fans are in for a treat. I'll be joined by Peter Byrne, who's been paying tribute to the music legend for nearly 3 decades, and even Neil Diamond loves his work. And our back-end quickie will cover the rules to understanding men. And I think, Amanda, you need to pay attention to this one. But it could lead to a divorce or maybe a healthy acceptance.
We'll see.
All right, all that and plenty more right here on McKnight Tonight. Let's get into our hot topics. Independent Senator Lidia Thorpe has ignited a political firestorm after saying she would burn down Parliament House to make her point. She made the comments during a speech in Melbourne over the weekend at a rally supporting Palestine.
We stand with you every day, and we will fight every day, and we will turn up every day. And if I have to burn down Parliament House to make a point, and I am there to free Palestine from the river to the
Labor has condemned the remarks as reckless and inflammatory, while the opposition MPs say they undermine faith in Australia's democratic institutions. Thorpe maintains she was using a figure of speech to highlight frustration with government inaction on Indigenous issues, insisting her comments were metaphorical, not a call to violence. But the backlash is growing, and some are now demanding the Senate censure her over what's being described as a dangerous outburst. You know, I don't agree with a lot of what Lidia Thorpe does. I don't agree with a lot of her politics. But I agree that she was using a metaphor. Do we really think she's going to burn Parliament House down? Now, I've seen a lot of commentary on this by on Talkback and on Sky News and the like. And I did see one commentator on Talkback Radio suggest that she was inciting violence. Well, no. And even the example this person used, saying that if I tell people to go and do something like burn down Parliament, I'm inciting violence. Or if I go and tell people to attack someone. But she didn't ask anyone to go and burn down Parliament House. She said, I will burn it to the ground. It is a saying. I will burn it to the ground to get what I need to do the, you know, it is a saying that has been used. And I did see today the AFP is now investigating Lidia Thorpe's burn down Parliament House comments. The Australian Federal Police are investigating whether independent Senator Lidia Thorpe breached legislation by saying she would burn down Parliament House to make a point about Palestinian and Indigenous rights at a rally over the weekend. In a statement to this masthead, an AFP spokeswoman said the force was aware of Thorpe's comments and had initiated an investigation into a possible breach of legislation. I mean, really, does anyone think... Now, I know she's done some big things. She's done protests inside Parliament House. As I say, I don't agree with some of the things she's done. But I will support her right to say something is... I'll say it's benign, but people won't think it's benign. But it's like me... What's an example I can use? It's like me saying, I'll run you through. Now, that could indicate violence, you know, like that I'm going to kill you on my way through to something. Is it what I mean? Absolutely not. She just meant she is going to do everything that she can to get legislation, to get the things she needs. And she's an easy target. And you know what you won't get here? You won't get easy targets. In fact, I go against the grain on so many things, and I open myself up to abuse and negative feedback because I won't just get the low-hanging, easy fruit. It is so easy for people, for commentators to say, well, we can all go against this. We can attack Thorpe because she's not on the right of politics. She's not a Lib. She's not a member of the coalition. And the audience we're going towards will not like what she does. As I said, there's a lot of things she does that I don't like. I have mentioned I've met her and I did like her, but I think she goes too far plenty of times. In this respect, I just don't think she did. I think this is a mountain out of a molehill. And I just think that if you want to have a go at her for certain things, have a go at her on the right things. And, you know, I think the mainstream media just gets lazy. And then the politicians feed into this because it's this hamster wheel. You know, someone says something, the tabloid media the mainstream media gets outraged, the politicians respond and get the AFP to launch an investigation. I mean, what's the investigation here? Did she mean it? Are they going to go through her emails and see if she has done emails saying this is how I'm going to burn down Parliament House? You know, she has actually had to have the AFP protecting her from threats and real violence that's been threatened against her. Not someone just making using a saying, I'm going to burn the house down. We need to grow up. And the sooner mainstream media grows up, they'll stop losing all the viewers and listeners that they're losing at the moment. We can have smarter conversations. We can say, don't overly agree with this person, but I'm going to defend them on this because what they said wasn't a dangerous outburst. It just wasn't. Maybe it was silly, sure. But she's come out and said, it's just not what I meant. She must be rolling her eyes because I'm rolling my eyes. Get upset about the right things like this next thing I want to talk about.
Here comes McKnight Tonight.
And the topic I want to talk about is one that I've covered quite a few times here on McKnight Tonight, pill testing. Because new figures from the Knockout Festival pill testing trial have reignited debate over Australia's approach to drug safety. The Daily Telegraph reports that 14 people suffered suspected drug overdoses at the event, despite on-site pill testing being in place. The New South Wales government says the trial is designed to collect evidence on how testing can reduce harm and improve safety at music festivals. Health officials say the data will help identify dangerous batches and patterns of use heading into the summer festival season. But of course, the numbers have already been seized upon by critics who claim the results prove pill testing doesn't prevent overdoses. Now, this is a claim medical experts strongly dispute. New South Wales opposition leader Mark Speakman questioned the pill testing, saying there was no evidence it saved lives. In fact, this is his quote, it may encourage a false sense of security, he said. Now, the fresh controversy comes just weeks after Queensland banned all forms of pill testing, shutting down fixed sites and blocking private investors who wanted to fund them. Premier David Crisafulli says the move supports the state's zero-tolerance stance on illicit drugs, but health advocates warn it will make festivals more dangerous, not less. I love it when politicians just come out and say, there's no evidence, we don't know if it works. Well, this is why we're doing trials. As I mentioned, I'm a big advocate for pill testing, and I want to remind you of something. When the ACT ran its Groove in the Moo trial in 2019, all 7 patrons who discovered their pills contained drugs or bad chemicals and were at serious risk, they discarded them in the amnesty bins. So we do have proof. Now, what we're seeing here is that maybe these festival goers didn't trust the system in place, thought it might be a trap. They didn't use the pill testing. And so they haven't tested their drugs to find out that they're not safe. Pill testing does work. If you take your pill, get it tested, and it says, this contains these chemicals which should not be in here, I would argue most users will throw that in the amnesty bin. And the figures show this. We've seen it at past tests. And up in Queensland, here in Queensland, David Crisafulli, I supported him on adult crime, adult time, and having a zero tolerance on youth crime. But I don't support this because a zero tolerance to drugs does not work. I've mentioned so many times how many drugs are found in our wastewater supply. They do tests. They do tests in our wastewater that show drugs, cocaine, meth is all through our suburbs. People out there are using them. Now, do you want to be seen as hard on drugs, or do you want to save lives? Because you can't have it both ways. You cannot say, we're going to save lives, or we're going to, and then have a zero tolerance for drugs. It just doesn't work. It does not work. You need to say, we are going to be pragmatic about this. We are going to save young lives from people who are possibly making bad decisions at a young age going to a music festival. We need to be realistic. Now, when it comes to, you might think I'm a bit hypocritical when I then say I am all for the zero tolerance on youth crime. Is that going to stop youth crime? Well, actually it can, because there are consequences that don't result in death. Youth criminals go through the system and have been bailed so many times because of their age. So making a change, adult time for adult crime has a consequence. They go through the court system and now are facing real consequences for their actions, which wasn't happening before. So that kind of zero tolerance works. Saying to kids or the general public, we have a zero tolerance on drugs, does not change behaviour. Because most of them aren't caught with drugs, aren't having these bad effects until they do. And an amnesty bin without pill testing achieves nothing. No politician has ever put out a press release that I have found, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember Gladys Berejiklian was big on the bins. Put your pills in the bins. No pill testing, just put your pills in the bins. Did she ever release stats saying, oh, this has been a great success? No, because no one goes to a festival with drugs and says, oh, there's a bin there. I've just had an epiphany. I'm going to change who I am. I'm going to change my ways because there's a bin there. No. They change because they've tested the pill and they found out they're going to die if they take it. Let's be real. Do the smart things. Stop playing political games. Pill testing works. And I'm deeply ashamed of David Crisafulli, someone I like and support here in Queensland. I hate this decision he has made. I think it's that low-hanging fruit I was just accusing the mainstream media of doing. Low-hanging fruit that achieves nothing. Let's get real.
Here comes McKnight Tonight.
All right. I feel like we've been missing something tonight, Amanda.
A rant?
Yes, a rant. We need a good bloody rant. She's a smart one, isn't she? Right. Last week, there was a lot going on in Canberra with Senate estimates taking place. Now, it looked into a range of departments. But of course, it can lead to ridiculous situations like this with Australia's Sex Discrimination Commissioner. Have a look at what happened.
Did you mean that biological males can be women?
Men. So I think that we have different language that perhaps you're using than I would use. So I don't understand the term biological men.
She seems like an intelligent woman. She must be an intelligent woman to hold this role, but she doesn't understand the term biological man. Well, I'll break it down for you. It's a person born with a penis. I think it's pretty simple. Now, whatever you then support, transgender, changing your sex, whatever, surely we can agree on what a biological man is. Now, this is the problem. We're skirting around everything, so scared of offending anyone. Can she really not say what a biological man is and what a biological woman is? Now, the term has certainly broadened. I on social media, I saw some vox pops, some interviews with people from 15 years ago, and they said, you know, what is a man, what is a woman? Very clearly able to say that. Or can a man have a baby? Obviously not. Of course, those things change today because a man can change his sex and it's possible have a baby. Or sorry, a woman can change her sex and possible have a baby. And what defines a man and a woman these days has changed. You know, being transgender is much bigger part of our society. But it doesn't mean we need to avoid the obvious scientific acceptable standards of what a biological man is and what a biological woman is. You will twist yourself in knots as the Sex Discrimination Commissioner of not trying to be offensive. It's ridiculous. And this is why we can't trust anyone in Canberra. And if you can't get a straight answer, I don't understand what a biological man is. Yes, you bloody do. You can say they're not terms that I'm going to look at because that's not what we do in my job. We don't break it down into biological terms. But you can't say you don't understand the bloody question because you do. Are you that much of an imbecile? You don't understand what she means when she says talks about a biological man? It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And it is just shows the ridiculousness of where we are today. Where no, blah, blah, blah. I can't accept that there are biological men because other people might come down on me. We can accept facts. If we can't accept agreed facts, then we really are bloody stuff. This is why people could have opinions on science now. This is why when we talk about pill testing, hard facts that pill testing has saved lives. It's at least 7 I know of from that Canberra festival. But no, we have no evidence. Well, it's not that we don't have evidence. It's just not evidence I believe in. We have to start accepting the scientific evidence. Opinions are not facts, and I've got plenty of opinions, but I cannot categorically state they are facts. They are my opinions, and while I may make perfect sense, and McKnight is always right, they're not facts unless I present an opinion with actual facts and not opinion facts. There's a huge difference. The Sex Discrimination Commissioner must accept that there are biological men and not pull this bullshit. That's Rob's rant. Was that too much, Amanda?
A little.
I saw Amanda there doing this. Like, is it going to wrap up soon?
I just need a cup of tea, that's all.
I've stopped the cup of tea. I better move on.
Wrap it up.
She keeps me honest. All right, there is plenty ahead in this edition of McKnight Tonight. We're going to meet a fantastic Neil Diamond tribute artist. And seriously, when you hear him sing, you'll think it's the real thing. And Neil Diamond himself holds his tribute concert in acclaim. I'll also get to a back-end quickie where we learn the rules for men. This is something I need you all the women to look at. Well, hang on, what are you looking at me like that?
I was going to say biological men. I just wanted to clarify.
So true. I don't think these rules will apply to women who have transgendered, transitioned into men, because I think maybe there's an inherent thing that sits with you. But these rules will make sense, I promise you.
Okay.
All that and your feedback too, so keep it coming in. First, though, it's a random live shot of the day.
It's the random live shot of the day. Where are you going today? You never know where you'll end up with the random live shot of the day.
Tonight's random live shot of the day takes us to Tel Aviv, where thousands have gathered as Israel prepares to welcome home the last living hostages from Gaza. In fact, we saw them arriving earlier. The atmosphere is a mix of relief and raw emotion. Families clutching photos, candles, and lots of flags. Waiting for reunions more than a year in the making. Now, I've also got here a live shot of the Knesset, where Donald Trump will soon be speaking, along with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The return of the hostages marks the end of a long and painful chapter that began with the October 7 attacks. For many Israelis, it's not just a homecoming, it's a moment of closure and a rare sign of hope after months of conflict and loss. Can we take a little listen to that, Amanda? Hear what's going on. Trump's getting some applause there. This is live. Absolutely live.
אדוני הנשיא, אנחנו ניצבים בפני ההיסטוריה ברגע נשגב שיחקק לדורות. זה יום מאוד מרגש לאזרחי ישראל, יום שכולנו ייחלנו לו. בספר ירמיהו משיב השם לרחל המבכה את בניה.
We obviously don't have the translated
מנעי קולך מבכי ועינייך מדמעה, כי יש שכר לפעולתך, נאום אדוני. ושבו מארץ אויב, ויש תקווה לאחריתך, נאום אדוני, ושבו בנים לגבולם. אני מבקש לאחל מכל ליבי החלמה מהירה ושלמה לפצועים ולחטופים השבים. כמה טוב שבאתם הביתה.
Take a quick listen. I'm just keeping an eye on it. I've got it in a little monitor down there. So let's have a look at some feedback coming through to McKnight Tonight. And Jeanette says, I've got the whiskey tonight, Rob. It's that type of night for me. Is it, Jeanette? Okay. All right. I hear you. Shane says, can you shout out my Aunt Kaz Harris? It's her 60th birthday. Happy birthday, Kaz. Happy birthday. Fantastic. Great to have your company tonight on McKnight Tonight for your 60th. I'll do a strippogram later. Dylan says, we're in for a ranty show tonight, and Rob is sporting a new look. Now, that could be relating to the beard that I'm still going. We've got a new strip of lights happening here. It's actually under here as well, but you can't really see it. We might have to see what we can do about that. Matthew, talking of the beard, says, Rob, you need a shave. My youngest daughter says that. She won't give me kisses. She says, not until you shave. Dylan says, though, nah, he looks better with the stubble. Thank you, Dylan. Appreciate that. Jake says, hey, Rob, tonight we've got Wine Grower of the Valley watching for the first time. She is really enjoying the show, mate. Thank you so much, Jake, and we always appreciate you people having a look at McKnight Tonight, so thank you for that. Own Your Crazy says regarding Lidia Thorpe, I don't care if Thorpe meant it or not. You take responsibility for the energy you bring to the space. People heard burn down the house. So, well, people can mishear a lot of things, Own Your Crazy. I think we're going to agree to disagree on this one. I can see Benjamin Netanyahu getting up at the moment, so presumably Trump will go next. Dylan says, how long does she have left in Parliament? I think she's there until 2028. Over the page we go. A. Appleton says, watching McKnight from a war boat tonight. Also, Dave Guru Graham said that he wanted to bring B-52 bombers to Parliament, but he wasn't roasted in the media. And I do think we get a bit of that. It depends who it comes from. Thorpe has certainly made herself a target, and in some respects, quite rightly. But on this one, I'm not there. I'm really not. Clint on Facebook says, listen to the radio tomorrow to hear Lidia Thorpe's cover version of Talking Heads, Burning Down the House. It's going to be lit. I enjoyed that one, Clint. Jeanette says, I have plenty of pills, prescriptions. They can have all mine. I believe the pills should be tested, or the drugs. If they want to take them, fine, but let us be safe in having them. Yes, absolutely, Jeanette. Couldn't agree more. Thank you for that. Ginger Meg says, McFeisty tonight. I am. Watch out. Maybe I'll need a wine to calm down, Jazzy. What do you reckon? I'm getting 2 shakes of the head. You're crazy, says, Rob is growing his beard out for his next gig as a shopping Santa Claus. Well, I do need work.
How did he guess?
What was that?
How did he guess?
So
That's
true,
the Christmas
so
break
true.
sorted for us.
Inner 666, please give a shout out to Cooker Wathers. We love you. Well, thank you. I love you too. Cooker Wathers? A. Appleton says you take pills before you get inside, but it's a good idea. Yes, you've got to get the pills inside. You've got to get them past the police. That is certainly true. So that's a very good point. Yes, thank you. I'm going to go back, Amanda, to... It looks like Trump's about to speak. Let's take a quick look at what's going on there. I'll pull the music out and we'll bring the audio up.
I know that the teleprompters are working well, though I'm not using them. But I'm not sure about the translation. So I'll say words in English. President Trump, the Knesset welcomes you and your distinguished delegation to Jerusalem, our eternal capital. This is your first visit to Israel since you recognize Jerusalem as our capital and moved the embassy here. Thank you, President Trump, for that. There are many other reasons to thank you since your last visit here. Thank you for recognizing Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. Thank you for standing up to the lies against Israel in the United Nations. Thank you for recognizing in your 2020 peace plan our rights in Judea and Samaria, the ancestral homeland of the Jewish people. Thank you for brokering the historic Abraham Accords. Abraham, Eskemei Avraham.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it, to make the point about UN lies. You know, just this week I spoke about Susan Lee and how I didn't like the fact that she used an address about the anniversary of October 7, the terrible events that happened when the hostages were first taken, and she turned it political. Netanyahu, it's an interesting one because he's going to be fighting for his political life. There are corruption charges against him, and the war has actually been good for him in some way. But to call out the United Nations as liars is quite interesting. And there were reports that he wasn't happy with Trump's peace plan and what he wanted. And apparently Trump said to him, "BB, can't you ever be happy? This is a good thing." So he's certainly gotten on board. And look, I'll keep an eye on that as we go through the night. I think Netanyahu's going to go for a while, and we'll see what happens through the show and how we go. So we'll keep an eye on everything as we go through on McKnight Tonight. Still plenty to come, including a fun back-end quickie about the rules of men. And but I think it's time we get to our feature interview.
Here comes McKnight Tonight.
All right, keep your feedback coming. We will have more later in the show, and I promise you will love tonight's back-end quickie. Well, maybe you'll love it if you're male. All right. If you love the music of Neil Diamond, you are going to love my next guest, because if you close your eyes, you really might think this is the iconic singer belting out this classic tune. Oh, it's just infectious. Yeah, my next guest was the performer there. He's been paying tribute to Neil Diamond since 1997 with his Hot August Night show, and now he's bringing something very special to our shores. Peter Byrne, welcome to McKnight Tonight.
Hello, Robert. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
I got very emotional because it was a while back.
You're getting emotional seeing that?
Yeah. It was back in Ireland, back home in Ireland.
Well, you are Irish, but you're here in Australia. And
Yeah.
Just so people know, Neil Diamond says you have a great tribute show. In fact, you actually have an autographed picture where he literally says, "Thanks for the great tribute show." You must be breathing, or you must have brought a sigh. You must have breathed a sigh of relief after hearing that.
Yeah, no, it was quite an honour. I won an award for best production show back in Australia back in 2003, and about 4 or 5 months later, this wonderful picture arrived signed by him, because I'd already met him back in 1996. So to hear from him again was quite an amazing honor. That hangs proudly on my wall in my living room.
I bet it does. What is the difference between an impersonator and a tribute artist, and how do you classify yourself?
I probably never really classified myself as a kind of a tribute artist. I'm more of a concept show. Having an Irish accent like this, I don't, Robert. I don't try and do an American accent on stage. Yep. When you've got an orchestra, 30-piece or a 45-piece orchestra, recreating that magical sound from the Greek theatre back in 1972, you just want to give people as much of the music as possible. Neil Diamond is still alive. No, he's not touring anymore, but I just take people on a nostalgic journey through his wonderful, wonderful music. I don't attempt to try and be him. So I'm probably considered more to be a concept show than anything.
That's an interesting term, because when I hear you, you do sound like him, but you're certainly not trying to be him. I can see that there, and it looks like a great show. I mentioned you started your first tribute show back in 1997, and it was with a 40-piece symphony orchestra. And now you and the orchestra are teaming up with Damien Mullen, who pays tribute to Elvis. What can people expect from this new show?
I just wanted to do, what I wanted to do was something a little bit different. So I came up with the idea of sharing the stage with the music of Elvis Presley. So, and Damien Mullen is up there with the best of the Elvis guys in Melbourne. And it's with a symphony orchestra. I was the first one to have ever done work with a symphony orchestra when it came to celebrating the music of a particular artist. So when I did that in 1997, nobody else had done it before. Everybody thought I was crazy recreating this iconic album. So I've moved forward and constantly reinventing myself, and decided, well, from a diamond to a king, the music of Neil Diamond and Elvis Presley, they're both 50s, 60s, and 70s iconic artists. So why not celebrate their music with a 30-piece symphony orchestra? It's going to be magical, absolute magical.
It will be magical. And I tell you, it's interesting you said you got emotional watching that footage I played before. What makes the music of Neil Diamond so infectious? Because it really is.
Well, his tunes are all catchy. I mean, they ask you why is Neil Diamond's music still popular today? It's still popular because our parents, grandparents brought us up in the music. Movies, his songs are in movies. Modern day artists are releasing songs over and again, not just Neil Diamond's, but everybody you can think of, the great music from the 50s, 60s, 70s. And it's just catchy music. I mean, Sweet Caroline, 5 years.
Oh, yes.
This massive revival. Every race meeting you go to, every AFL game, every rugby game, every football game, Sweet Caroline is played. And the younger generation go absolutely crazy.
Just terrific. All right. You have some shows coming up. Let's go through them. This Friday, you'll be at the Belmont 16 Sailing Club in New South Wales. On Saturday, the Pavilion Performing Arts Centre in Sutherland, New South Wales. Then on Friday, the 7th of November, at the Empire Theatre in Toowoomba. And Saturday, the 8th of November, at the Twin Towns Service Club, Tweed Heads, New South Wales. Oh, up near my way. Just go to peterbyrne.com for tour details and get your tickets. Peter, it's going to be fantastic. I wish you all the success. I mean, that the symphony behind you, you doing your stuff, Elvis happening, it's going to be a magical night.
It is indeed. Two icons basically rocking the place off. 2.5 hours with a 30-piece. The Australian Symphony Orchestra, you couldn't ask for anything better.
You really couldn't. Peter, thank you so much for joining us on McKnight Tonight.
Likewise, my friend. God bless you. See you soon.
Oh, I think we're going to go and see that show, Amanda. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it'd be brilliant.
I'll drag her out of the house. She likes to stay in the house. Hey, we'll just show some pictures from the Knesset in Israel, where Trump is. Benjamin Netanyahu is still speaking. Obviously, I don't know what the relationship with that man is at the moment, but they're paying some respects to him. Can we have a quick listen, Amanda?
Sabine Tassa of Kibbutz Netiv HaAsara is watching us today from the Israeli consulate in Los Angeles. Sabine lost her husband and her oldest son on October 7th. She is the mother of 3 other boys. 2 of them, Koren and Shai, witnessed their father jump on a Hamas grenade to save his 2 sons. We all saw the film of those 2 boys crying out in pain, "Father is dead. Why? Why did God save me?" Mr. President, my friend Donald, I've seen some very tough things in my life, but I couldn't bring myself to watch those boys suffering again. So I didn't see this film except once. Yet Sabine, their mother, has had the strength and fortitude to show this film across the world. And my wife Sarah and I asked her, "Sabina, how do you do it? Why do you do it?" And she answered, "I do it to show the entire world the monsters Israel is fighting, and the justice of our cause. This is what she's doing once again in Los Angeles. Sabine, you can hear me now. So I want to tell you on behalf of all of us, you embody the spirit of our biblical heroines, Deborah, Ruth, and Esther. You too are the spirit of Israel, and we all salute you.
You know what's interesting? It is important for people to tell their stories. When I was working on Spotlight, just as we were going into the summer break, we actually did something very different. We produced a new show because Israel had bought out some of the families of the people who were taken hostage. And it was the summer series, but I produced this whole story with Sarah Greenhalgh. And seriously, I was really, really proud of this story. Have a look if you can. Go and Google it on YouTube. And we had 4 sets of families. And during it, as we were telling the story, they were talking about their family members that had been taken hostage. And what you didn't realize until a certain part in the story is that one man who we were talking to had actually lost his niece and she had died. And it was a real turning point in the story. But there was another lady, Iris was her name. And she spoke about her son, and we actually had world exclusive footage of her son being taken by Hamas. And it's getting close to Christmas and Hanukkah, and she said, I pray for a Hanukkah miracle where I will get my son back. Now, I have kept an eye on her story, and it wasn't long after that her son was killed, unfortunately by the IDF going into a Hamas building, and her son was in there and was accidentally killed. And I don't blame the IDF because they're in there trying to, they're in an unknown situation. But she lost her son to Hamas, in my eyes. And I'll never forget her. And the beautiful person who just wanted her son home and wanted to share the story. And she never got that Hanukkah miracle. It's very, very sad. Look, I don't know how we do this next transition, but I am going to try and end on we've got some feedback. All right, let's do some feedback before we get to the back end quickie. All right, we've got this one. I'm trying to play. Oh, there we go. A. Appleton, So Yeah is a Neil Diamond classic. Great track. Okay, I don't know that one. I do know Lonely Lady number 17. And he goes through all the ladies he met. Anyway, Own Your Crazy says, speaking of blowing smoke to maintain his political survival. Yeah, and that could very well be true, what we're hearing from Netanyahu. But I will take his word on what he thinks about these families of the hostage victims. Over the page we go. A. Appleton says, Trump looking pale, spray tan washed off on Air Force One. Okay, well, maybe he's just being solemn. All right, well, look, we've got this one. Ginger Meg says his song, So Yeah, is my favourite. I don't know it. I unless it's one of those songs that you know but you don't know, like you've heard it but you don't know the name of it. And finally from Jeanette, I know a lady who was in hospital with me when the war broke out. Her friend's son was killed. I heard her cry. Later when I checked on her, asked if she was okay, she told me what happened. Well, good on you, Jeanette, for being there. All right, big change of pace now because it is time for a back end quickie. And I've been promising this, and it is what is the rules when it comes to men? I want Amanda and Jasmine to pay attention to this.
Man rules. We always hear the rules from the female side, so now here's the rules from the male side. These are our rules. 1. Men are not mind readers. 2. Learn to work the toilet seat. You're a big girl. If it's up, put it down. We need it up, you need it down. You don't hear us complaining about you leaving it down. 3. Crying is blackmail. 4. Ask for what you want. Let's be clear on this one. Subtle hints don't work. Strong hints don't work. Obvious hints don't work. Just say it. 5. Yes and no are perfectly acceptable answers to almost every question. 6. Come to us with a problem only if you want help solving it. That's what we do.
Yes.
Sympathy. That's what your girlfriends are for. 7. Anything we said 7 months ago is inadmissible in an argument. In fact, all comments are null and void after 7 days. 8. If something we said can be interpreted 2 ways, and one of the ways makes you sad or angry, we meant the other one. 9.
Yes.
You can either ask us to do something or tell us how you want it done, not both. Yes. You already know best how to do it, just do it yourself. 10. Whenever possible, say whatever you have to say during the commercials.
Amanda?
I don't agree with any of it.
One of my favourites there is, you can either tell me what to do. Now, what did he say? You can either tell me to do something, or tell me how to do it. You can't have both.
Yeah, something like that.
I liked that one. But anyway, lots of good rules in there. Lots of good rules. Okay, that brings us to the end of this edition of McKnight Tonight. Trump still hasn't spoken. Netanyahu is still up there giving his speech. And we know Donald will go for quite a while. It's available on YouTube if you want to go and watch it. Thank you for your company tonight. And we will see you tomorrow for Media McKnight. It's Radio Ratings Day, so I'll have the complete wrap of what's happening on the radio ratings front and a few other surprises. We'll see what eventuates tomorrow. All right, until then, it's good night from McKnight. See you tomorrow, everybody.
McKnight Tonight. McKnight Tonight. McKnight Tonight. It's good night from McKnight Tonight.